Welcome back. We're discussing COVID dissent and perhaps the lack of coverage of that voice with David Cayley, who's a former CBC producer, author, and journalist. So thank you again, Mr. Cayley, for coming on today. Before we went to commercial break, we were discussing that phrase misinformation. And you said something interesting that it actually was a phrase that came out of the BBC a year prior to COVID.
Yes, the so-called Trusted News Initiative began in 2019 and was sponsored initially by the BBC. All what people call legacy media, the big information companies, the internet companies, they all signed on immediately. So the frame was set that any dissent was going to be misinformation.
Hmm.
Uh, it's a very dangerous model, I think, because
Was that created as a
it allows only two sides, and most questions have many more sides than that.
Right. I mean, there's a lot of gray area and a lot of conversation. Was that, do you think, a reaction to Donald Trump because he would have been president at that time? And yeah, because I remember misinformation and disinformation, these two words that always went in tandem.
Yes, the United States tried to invent a disinformation governance board, but it was discontinued happily. But yes, I mean, there was a major panic going on, I think, uh, of which certainly Brexit and Donald Trump's election were founding events. Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
The frame
Gotcha.
was set, I think. Yeah.
Right. And again, it's pretty well. One should hope, and one expects that there's a journalistic standard approach to all stories that a outlet covers. Correct?
Well, yes. I mean, I'm actually a long time critic of media and uh, not happy with the framing in which says it all used to be great,
Okay.
right? The CBC was fair, all the media. Now there's a loss of trust in media, right? But before we had trusted news, before we had objectivity, this is a questionable story.
Right.
Um,
Right.
I'm
Um,
not saying these events weren't egregious. I think they were. I think the cancellation of Dr. Shavis particularly was shocking.
yes.
But I'm not saying let's go back to the good old days.
Right. Right.
I'm
No, I
saying we're
appreciate
in
that.
a very new situation with a badly divided people in which the CBC needs to find a new way forward, not just restore imaginary standards from the past.
Because there is a lot of heft and gravitas to outlets like the CBC when they're putting information out there or covering stories. And in this case, during COVID, with the sidelining of Dr. Chavez, uh, these stories shape public opinion. In your opinion, I guess how was the public opinion shaped, and how do you feel that contributed to trust in government public policy?
Well, I think there's a big reservoir of distrust now, and I think it's partly because dissent was not given a voice. Yes, I'm just
Right.
really rephrasing your question, but I do feel that way. That because I mean, if you take the Freedom Convoy,
Hmm.
which you mentioned in your introduction, a very mixed bag, I'm sure. Maybe there really was a Confederate flag in the crowd. Who knows? Um, the so-called Nazi flag was, I think, it is a disputed element of the story too. But it was easy to find evidence for your point of view. This was a dangerous rabble. This was a joyous coming together.
Hmm.
Uh, it was a complicated phenomenon. It was noisy. It was inconvenient, deeply inconvenient for the people living in downtown Ottawa. It was easy to get caught up in that. But
Right.
it was, I think, undeniably a major expression of Canadian opinion. It was
Right.
just obvious, right? As those trucks rolled towards Ottawa, the people on the bridges, the people in the parking lots, a very substantial new public was manifesting itself, and it was unformed, right? It was
Right.
inchoate, as a new public is. It had many tributary streams. It was open at the edges. People were finding each other. It was not a defined thing. It needed to be interrogated. That's what a public broadcaster ideally would do. But the CBC turned away rather and
Okay.
treated these people as not as fellow citizens.
And we're going to ask about that when we come back from this commercial break. Please stick around.